June 3, 2026. 3 earthquakes, 100 miles off the Oregon coast. No tsunami warning, no alert on your phone, no news coverage, filed as routine. Here's what wasn't in that filing. Beneath the Pacific Ocean floor, a fault the length of a city is actively breaking apart. Not theorized, not modeled, confirmed. The scientist who measured it used one word to describe how far along it was. Close. He didn't finish the sentence. Cascadia's subduction zone runs 600 miles, Canada to Northern California. Every major city on the U.S. West Coast sits directly above it. For 30 years, USGS told us those plates were locked, stable, not moving. If you've had trouble sleeping lately, particularly around 2 or 3 in the morning, some people within 200 miles of the Pacific coastline reported that same pattern in late 2025. Not one report, a pattern. Their fault model was built entirely on onshore sensors. The fault runs underwater, offshore, where those sensors weren't. Before 2021, 30 years of monitoring data, all collected from the wrong side of the water. Here's what the offshore sensors found when they finally looked. Northern segment, locked, exactly like the model said. But the central segment, the one running directly under the Oregon coast, active fluid migration, moving through the fault lines right now. That's not in the 2016 FEMA response plan. Not a single mention. FEMA's published coupling baseline for Cascadia, 0.5. Here's what the January 2026 offshore filed record actually shows. Northern segment, confirmed at 0.82. Not estimated, measured. That's not a rounding error. Emergency plans for 15 million people were built on a number that's provably wrong. Every evacuation route, every bridge rating, every hospital relocation trigger, built on 0.5. When the confirmed number is 0.82. Those are 2 different earthquakes. In September 2025, researchers at Louisiana State published their Pacific floor imaging. They sent sound waves down from a research vessel into the ocean floor. Below them, a 15-kilometer line of underwater sensors captured everything. What came back had never been directly imaged before. A fault, 75 kilometers long, running through the Explorer Plate. One section had already dropped 5 kilometers. Already. If you've made it this far, you already know something's wrong. Here's what changes the scale of everything before it. This fault isn't just breaking. It's breaking in pieces, unevenly. Some sections are still active, still building pressure. Others have gone completely silent. Silent doesn't mean stable. Silent means already gone. Those sections have already separated from the main plate structure. When one section separates, the stress doesn't vanish. It moves to the next section. Oregon State published their findings in October 2025. Cascadia and the San Andreas fault share a physical link. A rupture on one can trigger movement on the other. Their published word, linked. FEMA's scenario planning documents don't include a linked rupture event. 40 million people above a fault system with a confirmed connection to San Andreas. No linked rupture scenario in the official plan. A modeling request was submitted in March 2026. Results haven't been released. USGS's official response to the September 2025 imaging study. Not necessarily bad news. Here's what the actual file data shows. 5-kilometer drop. Explorer plate, confirmed, logged. Lead researchers' exact words, not 100% torn off yet. That word, yet, is in the published record. No public update has addressed it since. January 2026's offshore study found something else inside that central zone. Fluid migration, active, moving through fault lines under the Oregon shelf right now. Water in a fault line doesn't hold the plates together. It does the opposite. Less friction, easier movement. That fluid is moving right now. under the same shelf that funnels tsunami run up into coastal evacuation corridors. Those corridors were designed for a fully locked plate system. The plate system isn't locked. If you've been near the northern Pacific coast in the last 6 months, some coastal residents in Oregon reported unusually inconsistent low tides in late 2025, tides that didn't match the published charts. Pacific salmon runs on the U.S. West Coast hit historic lows in 2024. NOAA's official explanation: rising surface ocean temperatures. Here's what the depth logs from that same period actually show. Below 400 meters, inside the fault zone, cooling, not warming. Cold water displaced upward by fluid movement along the fault line. NOAA's surface monitoring doesn't extend to that depth. Their published report on the 2024 salmon collapse doesn't reference the depth data. That data is in the archive, filed, available, just not connected. 3 separate institutions, 3 separate data sets: seismic imaging, temperature readings, fluid migration logs. None of them cite each other in their public reports. All 3 describe the same fault zone, in the same window of time. Here's what none of the official briefings say directly. Cascadia isn't approaching. Part of it already happened. The plate tore in sections. Some sections already separated. You didn't feel it. The sensors logged it. Nobody sent an alert. 3 earthquakes. June 3rd, 2026. 100 miles off Oregon. No news, no statement, no change to the emergency plan, filed as routine. USGS knows which sections have gone silent. That list hasn't been released. Oregon, Washington, California, 40 million people above this fault, all of them running on a model that's been confirmed wrong. Ask yourself what else has been filed as routine while you weren't watching, and whether the next one is already in that file.